Part you know your time creates your value, stop being available to everyone. The moment people realize they can reach you anytime, your value begins to decrease. Think about it. The most respected people are not always accessible. They understand that time is their most valuable asset. If you keep saying yes to every request, every invitation, and every distraction, you're teaching people that your time has no price. Today we're going to explore why. Protecting your time is the first step toward becoming truly valuable. Most people don't lose opportunities because they lack talent. They lose opportunities because they allow constant distractions to steal their focus. Every day, countless hours disappear through unnecessary conversations, endless scrolling, and commitments that don't align with their goals. The Stoics understood a powerful truth. Time is the one thing you can never get back. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote that people guard their money carefully, but waste their time freely. Think about how true that is. Someone asks for an hour of your time, and you give it away without thinking. Yet if they asked for money, you would consider it carefully. Time is far more valuable than money, because once it's gone forever. When you become available to everyone, you slowly lose control over your own life. Your priorities become secondary to other people's demands. You start living reactively instead of intentionally. This is why successful and respected individuals create boundaries. They understand that every unnecessary yes is a hidden no to something more important. Learning to say no is not selfish, it is self-respect. Every time you decline something that doesn't serve your goals, you create space for something that does. People may not always like your boundaries, but they will respect them. And over time, they will begin to value your time, because they see that you value it yourself. The Stoics believe that discipline is freedom. When you control your schedule instead of letting others control it, you gain the freedom to focus on what truly matters. You become more productive, more confident, and more intentional with your energy. Ask yourself a simple question. Where is your time going? Is it being invested in growth, learning, and meaningful work? Or is it being spent on things that add little value to your future? The answer to that question may explain why you feel stuck. The first step towards becoming valuable is simple. Stop treating your time as if it's unlimited. Protect it, respect it, invest it wisely, because the way you treat your time teaches the world how to treat you. And once you master that lesson, everything begins to change. Have you ever noticed that the people who desperately seek attention rarely receive genuine respect? The more someone tries to impress others, the less powerful they appear. Yet those who remain focused on their purpose often attract attention. Naturally, this is one of the most important lessons of Stoicism. Your value should come from your character, not from other people's approval. In today's world, many people measure their worth by likes, comments, compliments, and recognition. They constantly look outside themselves for validation. But the problem with external validation is that it never lasts. The moment you depend on praise to feel valuable, you give other people control over your emotions. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus thought that happiness comes from focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. You cannot control what people think about you. You cannot control whether they admire you, criticize you, or ignore you. What you can control is your actions, your discipline, and your mindset. Many people waste years trying to build an image. Instead of building themselves, they want to look successful instead of becoming successful. They want to appear confident instead of developing real confidence. But appearances eventually fade. Character remains true. Confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't seek constant recognition. It comes from knowing that you're improving every day. Regardless of who notices, when you stop chasing attention, something remarkable happens. You become more attractive, more respected, and more influential. Think about the strongest people you've met. They probably weren't the loudest people in the room. They didn't constantly talk about their achievements. They didn't beg for approval. Their confidence came from within. Their actions spoke louder than their words. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to please everyone. But the reality is simple. If you try to satisfy everyone, you lose yourself in the process. No matter what you do, some people will disagree with you. Some will criticize you. Some will misunderstand you. Accepting this truth is liberating, the Stoics believe. that a person should focus on living according to their values, rather than chasing popularity. Popularity is temporary, respect is eternal, and respect comes from consistency, integrity, and self-discipline. The moment you stop seeking validation from the outside world, you begin to build something far more valuable, self-respect, and once you develop self-respect, the opinions of others lose their power over you. Remember, this attention can be given freely, but respect must be earned. Stop chasing attention, start building character. Because the people who know their worth never need to convince others of it. The truth is simple. What is common is often overlooked, and what is rare is usually valued. This principle applies not only to products and opportunities, but also to people. If you're constantly available, constantly talking, and constantly seeking attention, people begin to take your presence for granted. But when your time, energy, and attention become selective, your value naturally increases. Many people believe that being respected means being liked by everyone. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Respect comes from self-control, discipline, and purpose. The most respected individuals are not those who try to please everyone. They are those who remain committed to their principles. Even when it is difficult, one of the greatest mistakes people make is speaking too much and listening too little. They reveal every plan, every goal, and every thought before taking action. The Stoics understood the power of silence. Silence creates mystery. Silence creates focus. Silence allows your actions to speak louder than your words. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that a person's value is determined by the quality of their thoughts and actions, not by popularity, not by status, not by applause. Real strength comes from mastering yourself. Imagine two people. One constantly talks about success, but never takes action. The other quietly works every day, improving little by little. Which one earns more respect over time? The answer is obvious. People eventually stop listening to promises and start paying attention to results. Becoming rare doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. It means being intentional about where you invest your energy. Not every argument deserves your response. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every opinion deserves your attention. When you become selective, people notice. They recognize that your time is valuable because you treat it as valuable. They respect your boundaries because you consistently enforce them. Most importantly, you begin respecting yourself. The Stoics believe that the highest form of power is self-mastery, the ability to control your emotions, your impulses, and your actions. When you develop this power, you no longer depend on external approval. You no longer chase attention. You no longer need to prove your worth. Instead, you focus on growth. You focus on purpose. You focus on becoming the best version of yourself. So remember this lesson: stop giving yourself away for free. Protect your time, protect your energy, protect your peace. The more you value yourself, the more others will value you. Because respect begins the moment you decide that your life, your attention, and your future are worth protecting. And that is how you become truly valuable. Not by demanding respect, but by becoming the kind of person who naturally earns it. Most people spend their lives trying to control other people, other situations, and other outcomes. Yet they fail to control the one thing that matters most: themselves. According to Stoicism, true power begins when you master your emotions. Instead of allowing your emotions to master you, think about how many opportunities are lost because of anger, fear, impatience, or insecurity. A single emotional reaction can destroy relationships, damage reputations, and lead to decisions that are regretted for years. This is why the Stoics viewed emotional discipline as one of the greatest strengths a person can develop. When someone insults you, what happens? Most people react immediately. They become angry, defensive, and emotional. But a Stoic understands something different. Other people's words only have power if you allow them to affect your mind. The moment you learn to remain calm under pressure, you gain an advantage that very few people possess. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that external events are beyond our control. What remains within our control is how we respond to them. This simple idea can transform your life. You may not control what happens to you, but you always control your reaction. Emotional control does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means understanding them. It means recognizing anger before it takes over. It means noticing fear without allowing it to stop you. It means staying focused when others lose control. Look at successful leaders, athletes, and entrepreneurs. Their greatest strength is often not intelligence or talent. It is composure. They remain calm when others panic. They think clearly when others react emotionally. They stay disciplined when others give up. Every challenge in life is an opportunity to strengthen this skill. Every criticism is a chance to practice patience. Every setback is a chance to build resilience. Every difficult moment is a test of your self-mastery. The reality is that people respect those who remain calm in chaos. Anyone can stay positive when everything is going well. True character is revealed during difficult times. That's when emotional discipline separates ordinary people from extraordinary ones. The Stoics believe that freedom comes from within. If your emotions control you, then circumstances control you. But when you master your emotions, you become independent of circumstances. You become stronger than temporary problems, and stronger than temporary setbacks. Remember this. The strongest person in the room is not always the loudest, or the most aggressive. Often it is the person who remains calm, focused and disciplined when everyone else is losing control. Because true power is not controlling others. True power is controlling yourself. One of the biggest drains on your energy is the constant need to explain yourself. Many people spend their lives seeking permission, defending their choices, and trying to make everyone understand them. But the Stoics believe that a wise person focuses on living correctly, not on gaining universal approval. Think about how much time is wasted worrying about what others think. You make a decision, and immediately you feel the need to justify it. You set a boundary, and suddenly you feel guilty for protecting your own peace. You pursue a goal, and you begin explaining your vision to people who never believed in it in the first place. The truth is simple. Not everyone will understand your journey. Not everyone will agree with your decisions. And not everyone deserves an explanation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that people's opinions are temporary, and often based on limited understanding. Someone can criticize you today and praise you tomorrow. If your confidence depends on their approval, your peace will always be unstable. Strong people understand that actions speak louder than explanations. Instead of arguing, they focus on results. Instead of defending every choice, they remain committed to their purpose. They understand that success is often the best response to doubt. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or refusing feedback. Wisdom requires listening and learning. But there is a difference between accepting useful advice and constantly seeking validation. One helps you grow, the other keeps you trapped. Many people are afraid of disappointing others. As a result, they live according to other people's expectations, rather than their own values. They say yes when they want to say no. They follow paths that don't inspire them. They sacrifice their happiness to avoid criticism. The Stoics taught that your responsibility is not to please everyone. Your responsibility is to live with integrity. If your decisions are guided by wisdom, discipline, and good character, then you do not need universal approval. Remember, every successful person has been misunderstood at some point. Every meaningful goal attracts criticism. Every strong boundary disappoints someone. That is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. Often it's a sign that you're finally taking control of your life. The moment you stop explaining yourself to everyone, you reclaim your energy. You stop living for approval and start living with purpose. You become less concerned with being understood and more focused on becoming the person you were meant to be. Because at the end of the day, your life is not a debate to be won. It is a mission to be lived. One of the biggest drains on your energy is the constant need to explain yourself. Many people spend their lives seeking permission, defending their choices, and trying to make everyone understand them. But the Stoics believe that a wise person focuses on living correctly, not on gaining universal approval. Think about how much time is wasted worrying about what others think. You make a decision, and immediately you feel the need to justify it. You set a boundary, and suddenly you feel guilty for protecting your own peace. You pursue a goal, and you begin explaining your vision to people who never believed in it in the first place. The truth is simple. Not everyone will understand your journey. Not everyone will agree with your decisions. And not everyone deserves an explanation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that people's opinions are temporary and often based on limited understanding. Someone can criticize you today and praise you tomorrow. If your confidence depends on their approval, your peace will always be unstable. Strong people understand that actions speak louder than explanations. Instead of arguing, they focus on results. Instead of defending every choice, they remain committed to their purpose. They understand that success is often the best response to doubt. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or refusing feedback. Wisdom requires listening and learning. But there is a difference between accepting useful advice and constantly seeking validation. One helps you grow, the other keeps you trapped. Many people are afraid of disappointing others. As a result, they live according to other people's expectations, rather than their own values. They say yes when they want to say no. They follow paths that don't inspire them. They sacrifice their happiness to avoid criticism. The Stoics taught that your responsibility is not to please everyone. Your responsibility is to live with integrity. If your decisions are guided by wisdom, discipline, and good character, then you do not need universal approval. Remember, every successful person has been misunderstood at some point. Every meaningful goal attracts criticism. Every strong boundary disappoints someone. That is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. Often it's a sign that you're finally taking control of your life. The moment you stop explaining yourself to everyone, you reclaim your energy. You stop living for approval and start living with purpose. You become less concerned with being understood and more focused on becoming the person you were meant to be. Because at the end of the day, your life is not a debate to be won. It is a mission to be lived. One of the biggest drains on your energy is the constant need to explain yourself. Many people spend their lives seeking permission, defending their choices, and trying to make everyone understand them. But the Stoics believe that a wise person focuses on living correctly, not on gaining universal approval. Think about how much time is wasted worrying about what others think. You make a decision, and immediately you feel the need to justify it. You set a boundary, and suddenly you feel guilty for protecting your own peace. You pursue a goal and you begin explaining your vision to people who never believed in it. In the first place, the truth is simple. Not everyone will understand your journey. Not everyone will agree with your decisions. And not everyone deserves an explanation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that people's opinions are temporary and often based on limited understanding. Someone can criticize you today and praise you tomorrow. If your confidence depends on their approval, your peace will always be unstable. Strong people understand that actions speak louder than explanations. Instead of arguing, they focus on results. Instead of defending every choice, they remain committed to their purpose. They understand that success is often the best response to doubt. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or refusing feedback. Wisdom requires listening and learning. But there is a difference between accepting useful advice and constantly seeking validation. One helps you grow, the other keeps you trapped. Many people are afraid of disappointing others. As a result, they live according to other people's expectations, rather than their own values. They say yes when they want to say no. They follow paths that don't inspire them. They sacrifice their happiness to avoid criticism. The Stoics taught that your responsibility is not to please everyone. Your responsibility is to live with integrity. If your decisions are guided by wisdom, discipline, and good character, then you do not need universal approval. Remember, every successful person has been misunderstood at some point. Every meaningful goal attracts criticism. Every strong boundary disappoints someone. That is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. Often it's a sign that you're finally taking control of your life. The moment you stop explaining yourself to everyone, you reclaim your energy. You stop living for approval and start living with purpose. You become less concerned with being understood and more focused on becoming the person you were meant to be. Because at the end of the day, your life is not a debate to be won. Have you ever noticed how many people are constantly looking for an escape? They wait all week for the weekend. They count the hours until work ends. They scroll endlessly through social media, searching for distractions that help them forget their reality. For a little while deep down, many people are not building a life they enjoy. They are building a life they are trying to survive. The Stoics believe that this is one of the greatest tragedies a person can experience. Imagine spending years chasing things that don't truly matter, only to wake up one day realizing that you have been living according to other people's expectations, instead of your own values. Most people assume that happiness will arrive sometime in the future. They tell themselves, I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when people respect me. I'll be happy when my problems disappear. But there is a problem with this way of thinking. The future keeps moving as soon as one goal is achieved. Another appears as soon as one problem is solved. Another takes its place. If your happiness depends entirely on future circumstances, you may spend your entire life chasing something that always remains just out of reach. The Stoics understood a powerful truth. Happiness is not something you find at the end of the road. It is something you create through the way you walk the road itself. Marcus Aurelius was one of the most powerful men in the world. He ruled an empire, commanded armies, and possessed wealth beyond imagination. Yet his writings reveal that he struggled with the same emotions and challenges that ordinary people face today. Why? Because external success alone does not guarantee inner peace. Many people spend years building careers while neglecting their minds. They accumulate possessions while losing their sense of purpose. They become successful in the eyes of the world, but feel empty when they are alone with their thoughts. The Stoics warned against this trap. They believed that true wealth is not measured by what you own. It is measured by how little you need to feel fulfilled. Think about that for a moment. If your happiness depends on constant upgrades, constant validation, and constant achievements, then your happiness is fragile. It can disappear the moment circumstances change. But if your happiness comes from your character, your values, and your ability to appreciate what you already have, then it becomes much more difficult for life to take it away. One reason people feel trapped is because they live on autopilot. They wake up, they check their phones, they rush through their day, they react to whatever happens, and then they repeat the process tomorrow. Days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years eventually. They look back and wonder where the time went. The Stoics believe that awareness is the first step toward freedom. You cannot change a life that you refuse to examine. This is why they regularly reflected on their actions, thoughts, and priorities. They ask themselves difficult questions. Am I spending my time wisely? Am I living according to my values? Am I becoming the person I want to be? These questions may seem simple, but they have the power to transform your life. Many people avoid them because honest answers can be uncomfortable. It's easier to stay distracted. It's easier to stay busy. It's easier to convince yourself that you'll figure everything out later. But later is never guaranteed. Seneca frequently reminded people that life is shorter than they think, not because our years are necessarily few, but because we waste so. Many of them think about how much time disappears through worry, how much time disappears through fear, how much time disappears through comparison, how much time disappears through activities that provide temporary pleasure, but no lasting fulfillment. The Stoics believe that every day should be treated as valuable, not because life is meant to be serious all the time, but because life is precious. Every sunrise represents an opportunity that countless people no longer have. Every day offers a chance to improve, a chance to learn, a chance to grow, a chance to become stronger. Yet many people postpone their lives. They postpone their dreams. They postpone their happiness. They postpone their growth. They keep waiting for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment rarely arrives. The people who create meaningful lives are not those who wait for ideal conditions. They are those who begin despite imperfect conditions. They take action while afraid. They move forward while uncertain. They grow while struggling. This is one of the most powerful lessons of Stoicism. You do not need perfect circumstances to live well. You need the courage to make the best use of the circumstances you already have. Another reason people feel disconnected from their lives is because they spend too much energy comparing themselves to others. Comparison has become easier than ever before. Every day social media presents carefully selected highlights from other people's lives. You see their achievements, their vacations, their successes, their celebrations. What you rarely see are their struggles, their failures, their doubts, their sacrifices. As a result, many people begin comparing their behind-the-scenes reality to someone else's highlight reel. The Stoics would have considered this a dangerous habit. Why? Because comparison steals gratitude. The moment you focus entirely on what others have, you stop appreciating what you already possess. You begin measuring your worth against standards that may have nothing to do with your true values. Instead of pursuing your own path, you become distracted by someone else's. A wise person understands that life is not a competition. The goal is not to outperform everyone around you. The goal is to become better than the person you were yesterday. That is a competition you can control. That is a competition worth pursuing. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of meaningful relationships. No matter how disciplined or successful you become, life loses much of its value if it is lived entirely alone. Human beings are social creatures. We need connection, we need friendship. We need people who challenge us, support us, and inspire us to grow. However, the Stoics also warned against surrounding yourself with negative influences. The people around you shape your thoughts more than you realize. Spend enough time around complainers, and complaining begins to feel normal. Spend enough time around people who lack ambition, and mediocrity begins to feel acceptable. Spend enough time around people who constantly create drama, and peace begins to feel unfamiliar. This is why choosing your environment carefully is one of the most important decisions you can make. Your future is influenced by the conversations you have, the ideas you consume, and the people you spend time with. Choose wisely. One of the greatest misconceptions about happiness is that it comes from comfort. Many people believe that a comfortable life automatically leads to a fulfilling life, but comfort alone often produces stagnation. Growth usually requires challenge. Strength usually requires resistance. Wisdom usually requires experience. The Stoics did not seek suffering, but they understood its value. They recognized that adversity often teaches lessons, that comfort cannot difficult experiences reveal your strengths. They expose your weaknesses. They force you to adapt. They build resilience. Think about the strongest people you know. Their strength was probably not developed during easy times. It was developed through struggle, through setbacks, through failures, through moments when quitting would have been easier. This is why Stoics viewed obstacles differently than most people. They did not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, they asked, "What can this teach me?" That single shift in perspective changes everything. Problems become opportunities. Failures become lessons, challenges become training. And suddenly, life feels less like something happening against you, and more like something working for your growth. Perhaps the most important Stoic lesson is this: your life is happening right now, not tomorrow, not next year, not after you achieve your goals. Right now, many people spend so much time preparing to live that they forget to actually live. They postpone joy. They postpone gratitude. They postpone peace. Yet the present moment is all any of us truly possess. The past cannot be changed. The future cannot be guaranteed. The present is where life exists. This does not mean abandoning goals or ambition. It means learning to appreciate the journey while pursuing them. It means understanding that fulfillment is not waiting at the finish line. Fulfillment is created through the person you become while moving toward it at the end of your life. It is unlikely that you will regret not owning a few more possessions. It is unlikely that you will regret not impressing a few more strangers. But you may regret the days you wasted worrying, the opportunities you ignored, the relationships you neglected, the dreams you abandoned because fear convinced you to wait. The Stoics wanted people to live with urgency, not panic but purpose, to recognize that time is limited, to focus on what truly matters, to let go of unnecessary distractions, to become fully present in the life they have been given. So ask yourself, are you building a life you genuinely enjoy living, or are you constantly searching for ways to escape it? Because the ultimate goal is not merely to survive each day. The ultimate goal is to create a life so meaningful, so purposeful, and so aligned with your values that you no longer feel the need to escape from it. That is the path of Stoicism. That is the path of freedom. And that is the path toward a life of lasting fulfillment.